we do. This is what we see every single day. And it's not like, if it earned, the right to put all the attention and everything in everything that we're doing. It's actually doing it every single day. We just published in our statistics for 2025. We cleaned hundreds of millions of square feet in 2025. So it's not like, let's try this pet project, on this corner room over there and see how it goes. Businesses and facility managers are running it every single day and seeing results. And I think what drives it is kind of like a perfect storm. I'm talking about the Texas storm. From one side, we have this labor shortage. People just don't want to do these jobs anymore. They don't want to push vacuum cleaners for 8 hours a day anymore. And on the other side, robots and AI and these technologies actually became powerful enough to navigate, to avoid obstacles, to go through elevators, to open doors, and so on. So the perfect overlap of these two things give the backdrop to the success that we see in robotics implementations, all around the country. You're muted. Ed, you're muted.
Oh gosh, did that stay muted? Okay, well, there we go. There's for our audience. We are winging this. I thought I'd unmuted, but I'm not going to touch that button again. Okay, Billy, you've actually used AI to solve a problem for yourself. So based upon your exercise, has it earned its seat at the table in our discussions?
Oh, I think unequivocally yes, not just because it's cool, but it solves real problems. To Elad's point, the labor shortage, the issues that we're seeing across the industry. We're finding portfolio managers and leadership teams and C-suites that want more detailed information than we can actually get at times through human objective reporting, right? So we need to be able to lean into technology where we can solve the problems that are clogging the pipeline of work. And what my problem specifically was manual documentation, right? We have hours and hours and hours and hours of labor that goes into documenting conditions and that sort of thing. And this is a prime opportunity for us to lean into AI and find a way that AI and robotics can work to augment the human being in the room, right? So my goal is never to eliminate a human being's job. It's to make them better, faster, smarter, stronger, all of that, right? With technology embedded in their workflows. So I think this is not only a cool thing to do, it's time that we as an industry look at how we can embrace this to better our employees' roles and our own jobs and futures in the industry.
Thank you. So Henrik, you have somewhat of a different perspective to the rest of the team. You're very focused on individuals within the organization and how to actually augment individual performance. So in a similar vein, maybe you'd like to share a little bit of a very tiny bit of your personal journey, because I don't want to steal your thunder.
Yeah. Yeah, much of it has already been said, but I can share a bit of my own journey. As we said in the introductions, I've been in the facilities management or workplace industry over the last 20 years in different capacities, either as a leader myself on executive level, working with transformation, strategy, growth, marketing, and these type of things. Or I've been doing a trusted advisor type of jobs for Ernst & Young and the Fortune 500 leadership environment on their workplace strategies, outsourcing deals, and so on and so forth. So I've been through the evolution of the industry over the last 20 years. But lately, the last 2 years have been the most transformative from different family reasons. Being a divorced parent with 2 small kids and a lot of work pressure, traveling around 18 countries daily, more or less, I decided to redesign my work and become augmented, as we say, a couple of years ago soon. I quite rapidly built 20 agents that in the end, I would say after a couple of months of implementing them in my role as head of strategy for Europe for Sodexo, freed up 2 days a week in time. So that's the personal journey that I've been over the last 2 years. And it blew my mind to the extent that I chose to leave the big corporate environment to become an entrepreneur. And nowadays I've co-founded the company called Lead with AI that you referred to, Ed. Really happy that you've been part of our open program, where we have taken 1,300 non-technical leaders through this augmentation journey of really becoming top 1% in the world when it comes to AI augmentation. So we have learned quite a few things from that, and from, of course, working with companies to do the full transformation journey. But the points you all raised, they make total sense. I see a different perspective since I'm working with leadership teams and individuals daily. And AI is here. Yes, it is taken seriously, but it's not because of the tech. It is because of the immense pressure leaders are under these days to deliver bigger outcomes, deliver more with fewer resources, and really, embracing this fantastic new innovation in human ways. And the return on investment comes when all of these micro decisions, the toil is removed from individuals and teams who can make their jobs suck a little bit less, to be honest. When that happens, it stays and it becomes a sustainable habit in the organization. So yes, it's here.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I can attest to having built an agent quite recently to actually help me with accounts receivable analysis, to actually just dig through a lot of data to figure out where the pain points are, and that was a 2-week job collapsed into half a day, which was absolutely incredible. So maybe not 2 weeks, but it felt like it, and I did it. I think clearly, Henrik, you mentioned that that's changing jobs today, but I'd like to spin around the group. Maybe go to Elad from that particular perspective of robotics, and then just ask others to jump in. We've seen how executive jobs, there's the potential for executive roles to change considerably. We read in the papers about how entry-level jobs may change considerably. Question for you: what jobs in facilities, janitorial, or workplace services do you feel are most likely to change but not disappear over the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because the number one question I constantly getting is, are robots taking our jobs? Are we all doom and gloom? And the reality is, no, robots are not taking jobs. Robots are stepping in and helping where people don't want to do these jobs anyways. And this is something very, important to understand, because robots cannot do everything, at least not yet. I mean, we are far away from, being able to do everything that humans do. But robots can take the mundane, the routine tasks. So if you think about, mainly cleaning today, scrubbing floors, washing floors, mopping, vacuuming, even sweeping outdoors and all of that. These are jobs that, again, people don't want to do, and we can automate that. And by doing that, we actually release the people to do more, valuable tasks, higher touch point areas and areas that don't get attention because, we have to clean the floors. What we are working with our customers is around understanding the workflows in their buildings. Who is responsible for what, how often it's being done, what's the impact if it's not being done, and so on. And by mapping all these workflows, we can decide, okay, this can be automated, okay, and we can release these human resources to do things that are actually more important to you, because you said, your doors and windows and handles are more important than that, because this is where people actually see and interact and touch and so on. So I think the focus needs to be around the workflows, mapping the building's workflow. And sometimes it's even hidden, even to operators. They don't pay attention to, the legacy of the team's decisions. And as Henrik said, there are, millions and millions of micro decisions during the day that we are not even aware that we are making these decisions. But when you put all of this together, you map the workflow, then you can actually start optimizing the operations of the building. So, to your question, mainly today, cleaning is being changed and automated. We can get autonomous robots through elevators, send them to the right floor, clean over there, go back to their docking station, discharge the dirty water, refill fresh water, go again on another route, and just keep running it 24/7. Many of you have seen robots at Quick Trips, the gas station. They're using humans to touch up, not even clean, touch up the floors, once a day. And today they're running 4 times per day, full clean of their floors. And that's what I'm saying when you're mapping what is being done. And these were just the associates behind the cashier over there. It's not like a specialized janitorial team over there. But if you map the workflow, you understand what's important for you. Okay, you can actually benefit from automation.
If I could build on that real fast, okay, Ed? Yeah. What we have found in our engagements with our clients, in terms of what maybe they've done in the past that didn't work for AI, because I think it's no secret, AI proof of concepts typically don't mature past proof of concepts. There's about 90 or 98% failure rate. The reason is, I think, and what we've uncovered is, people think of it like a software rollout. So that's how IT deploys it. Hey, we're just going to roll out some software. And that's absolutely the wrong approach. And I loved what you said, Elad, in that you shouldn't be asking, can it do it? It can do just about anything. The question is, what does it look like if we did it in an optimized way? And you have to think of it that way, right? So now you've got to rethink, and this is the most important thing when you think about an organization and how you can take part in your organization's success with AI enablement. You have to think of it as re-engineering the entire organization. So every person in the organization, from an HR perspective and from a business management perspective, a C-suite perspective, needs to think about how do we redo the organization to be more competitive with these new technologies, these new non-biological teammates that we have. And if you can overcome that term, because it's got a lot of emotion to it, if you can overcome the term of non-biologicals, and how do we deploy those non-biologicals to help us get the work done? And then you think about, so what does strategic capacity look like? How do we build the organization so that we're building capacity for the humans that work here so they can do other things to help us build revenue or build profitability or optimize? Then that's what success looks like. But so many times we see organizations that just want a new module added to their existing software, or they just want to roll out this new thing and see if it works. And shame on us as an industry. That's what we've done for 20 years with software. We just roll it out and see if it works. It doesn't work in AI. You've got to do something different.
I think I've got a couple of perspectives on that. And Elad, I agree. James, I agree. And I also have a perspective that's maybe going to take this conversation in a different direction. By mapping the workflows, by doing the rollouts properly, I think the key piece that we miss is the human being. And Henrik, you'll appreciate this, I think. Not saying the others won't, but I know you will. The human being is the most important piece of whatever you want to call it, whether that's a resource or an entity within the built environment. The user of the building, the employee that takes care of the building, that human being is really the most important. So when we're looking at this overall strategy of how do we map the workflows to become more efficient, how do we find the information that's going to make us, more profitable, more efficient, more operationally excellent, it boils down to the human being. And how does this tool, because that's what it is, whether it's a robot or an agent or an AI software embedded in your workflow, it's a tool that empowers the human to be better at their job. So we need to be taking that wide view, as James suggests, and the tactical view, as Elad suggests, and put them together and say, how does this help the human? And what benefit does that human then give us as an organization? And that's the way we're seeing the rollouts that you're talking about is we're discussing the ROI, not just from a dollar impact, but from a human capacity regenerator, right? We were able to give one of our clients back approximately 1,300 hours in a single task through deploying our software. And that's across their entire portfolio. 1,300 hours is half a human's years of labor, right? So that's a whole nother half a body that these guys were dug down doing manual documentation. And now they don't have to do that. It's review, implement the strategy that is now going to improve that space, right? So, and we're actually have other things that we could do to make that process even faster. So I'll throw it to you, Henrik. I know you're big like me in the human impact of AI and robotics, but I think if we as organizations and an industry can zoom out and really look at the ROI from a human capacity level, the benefit that it has, we'll be better at what we're doing.
Yes, I totally resonate with this. And, to put it simply from the dialogues I have daily, we have mostly non-technical leaders, right? That really want to jump on that train and really understand it. And we say, what if you can be a dramatically different procurement leader in 6 months, or a dramatically different marketing director, or whatever it is? What would you need to do more of what you really like and do less of what you don't like? And that's kind of the basic journey from an individual perspective. I think that is much more important than a process mindset. And the risk, I don't think it's a risk, Ed, to answer your question of replacement here. The big risk is if we are not investing on the people side to kind of take leverage from this situation, because then we will end up in a two-tiered world where you have the AI augmented people and the non-AI augmented people, and that would be unfair.
Yeah, just an additional thought there. It's the way that we try to shorten it up a whole bunch just by saying non-biologicals can be responsible, but there must always be a human that's accountable for whatever that process is that you're trying to re-engineer.
Yeah, absolutely. And Billy, I mean, to your point, I want to add one important thing. I think the whole labor shortage is a problem in what we call human dignity. People are looking around and just like, why am I pushing a vacuum cleaner for so many hours? I can do so much more with my life, right? This is not a job that I want to do. I don't see myself. No one goes back home and tell his kids, I vacuumed all the corridors today, right? This is not something that we are proud of, right? As humankind, right? And when we look at autonomous solutions, most of the people already have kind of Roombas in their homes, right? So if this thing is doing my living room, why am I doing that for job, right? Doesn't make any sense. And this is where you see the dissonance, the cognitive dissonance, right? Between what is possible, what is available, and what am I doing with my life. That's where the labor shortage, the labor gap is. And to James' point, we don't call them non-biological being. We just call them digital workers. This is just a worker like any other worker, just digital. That's the only thing. So we don't put like a us and them, biological, non-biological kind of thing. It's just digital worker. And like I have my Outlook, right? It's also a digital worker for me.
Yeah. And to that, like the way roles are going to change, because we talked around it, but I don't think any of us really put anything specific to it. I think this is a specific. When we're having those conversations and when we're deploying the digital workers, I think it's our responsibility as leaders in this industry and as people that are working in our buildings to find ways to upskill those existing people that are in our organizations, right? We owe it to them, if we're not going to replace them with a robot, to upskill their education, their technology knowledge levels, right? So that they have a better frame of reference of how to work with these digital workers or non-biological employees or whatever you want to call them. I think we really have that responsibility, to James's point, right? To upskill the worker. That makes them more valuable to the organization in the long run. It gives them longevity. It makes them feel valued. Studies show this hands across the board, right? If you invest in the people, they'll feel more valued by the organization. So specifically, how will they change? I think that's yet to be seen. But as organizations deploy these solutions, they really, really need to find ways to upskill. And that's, I think, in part a responsibility of the solutionists like myself that are out there building these solutions. We need to do a good job of educating these organizations on what skill sets their teams need to be, improved upon. That's my.
I'd like to, so Billy, I'd like to kind of jump in here because I think there's a theme in here that's resonating, at least for me, that I think there's always a risk that, or there's currently a risk that we're seeing AI and robotics in the audience, potentially because still seeing it as a solution, looking for a problem. It's actually out there. It's not really here today, but it is actually showing up quietly in many areas. And I'd just like to offer up an example and then ask you the same question, is that it's showing up today in building management systems, in HVAC systems, fire protection, all across the board. And there are organizations engaging with it. I'm actually going to give a shout out for a union here, Local 30. They're part of the it's the operators union, Local 30 in New York, and they have a training center where they're training the apprentices that are coming through, doing refresher. And there's a large part of their curriculum now is actually devoted to dealing with what we might call AI-enabled technologies, but increasingly finding their members have to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. So it feels like these tools are, as much as we talk about it, and as much as we say there's this big wave that's coming in the future, they're quietly showing up today. They might not be called AI, they might not be called robotics, but they're actually showing up today. So I wondered if you've come across, or what examples you may have come across of instances where it's showing up quietly in the building today, even if people are not calling it AI. So maybe I'm going to throw to Henrik first, but if you want to throw it to somebody else, feel free.
No, it's an interesting question, right? A lot of the time AI is invisible. And it may be in places where you get recommendations. It may be, you get any type of nudge for what you want to eat for lunch, for example, when you're at the office. But I think when it comes to where it's really happening, it's in the workforce, because people are bringing in AI into their daily private lives. And since they've started to do that, prompt around a bit, how will I solve this gardening issue that I have, typical start case for most people. Now there is an expectation of really getting it into to work as well, right? So it is there. It is in the buildings, but more so in the workforce. But a lot of the time in a very uncontrolled way, where people bring their own AI, and it's probably not within policy all the time for the companies. And that's problematic, right? Because you need to do this journey. We have said it before already today, that it has to be invested in the people side, right? But it is not controlled as it is today. It's really in pockets in different parts of the workforce. And if it is in pockets, as it is in most of the cases when I talk to leaders, they say, Kathy on marketing are doing good stuff. They're trying something out. And on finance, they've done a few things. Then that's a warning sign, right? Because it's not intentional. But to answer your question, yes, it is there. It is invisible to the degree that people are taking their own AI most of the time into jobs, but it's not intentional from a transformation perspective yet.
Yeah,
but it's
Henrik, to
yes.
support that, I think the industry generally calls it shadow IT, right? Shadow IT, in this case, shadow AI, has substantial risk related to governance and information loss. Not only that, but there's the ability that's missed. If it is working, how do you scale that across the organization so you don't have, a view of that? And I think a lot of organizations right now are paralyzed at a board level and at an individual business unit level, because they're not quite sure how to take that first step to turning it into something that's organization wide. And, the way we started our AI journey, and I was one of them that called for this, was, hey, everybody go out and make it work for you and see what you can do. And we're still there. But that doesn't translate to enterprise value. And how do I measure it? And how do I scale it? How do I reinforce it? And how do I re-engineer my organization? And I think that's where a lot of the world is right now. That's what we're seeing, right? How to solve that problem.
Yeah, and to your both points, I think, also when we look at the physical AI, we have similar things. So even if the board or management decided, to go to, automation and put robots and everything, there's typically one person, maybe two people responsible for that. And they carve them out of, everyone else. You guys do the robots, right? And everyone else is doing something else. And when these people leave, because, natural, things, right? I mean, they just go to work somewhere else or whatnot. The entire, a structure that they built just crumbles because no one else knows what to do. And, we see that in reports. We actually go and engage back with customers. Hey, it's been, a week since you ran, your robots. We see a drop, to Billy's point, right? About accountability, right? And looking at the reports and all of that, right? So we see, basically zero activity. What's going on? Oh, John left. Okay. Who's next in line? That's where, we basically see the gaps, where it wasn't embedded as a workflow in the organization, but it's in everyone's DNA now. And this is something I would strongly recommend for everyone, listening and attending here. Just think about it as another team, a whole team or team member, it doesn't matter, but another team that can actually do something for you. And it's part of your organization. It's delivering value. So who is responsible? Who is accountable? Who needs to know if something is wrong? Think about the whole, structure behind that in order to ensure successful deployment, not just on day one or week one.
Yeah, I think all that flows down to one word: trust. Right? Yeah, and you can't scale software. You scale trust. That's the key. You have to get the trust of the team, the trust of the organization, the trust of the leadership behind the solution. And just there are some real solutions out there invisible today that are happening behind the scenes in safety, in inventory management, in fleet management, in all of these areas that we don't even interact with them. Right? There are companies, one pretty well-known company that's out there that they have a safety thing that is deployed. It's an AI tool in an AI-based camera. They monitor factory floors, warehouses, and these systems alert a safety manager the moment a safety infraction has occurred, whether there was an injury or not. Maybe it was somebody just crossed a yellow barrier into a safety zone and they didn't have the right PPE. But these are making workplaces safer, because now the safety manager is getting that input immediately in an alert. They can go and pull that person off the floor and say, hey, real quick, watch this video. You see what you did. It's a retraining moment rather than a disciplinary or injury or worst case, an OSHA investigation because of an employee death.
Yeah.
You don't want those. So these are ways that AI is showing up today that are actually saving lives and making the world better. So remember, trust.
I'd love to react back to that last comment, and then ask a more general question that I think I'm hearing here. So on the safety, I'm trying to remember the name of the company, but came across an incident fairly recently. I think most people have heard of kind of the safety pyramid.
Yep.
Where it's like you have certain number of near misses, then that results in, if you have this number of near misses, it results in a minor accident, yada, 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 yada. And so the idea is that you work on the base of the pyramid, and then that might stop a SIF, a serious injury or fatality. Well, the application of AI or the application of technology has allowed some real thought leaders to figure out, actually, that's complete and utter garbage. It doesn't work. It doesn't stop the fatalities. It might have a minor influence. And so you actually have to look for the conditions that create that serious injury or fatality, because they can evolve very, very quickly, and are using really pattern recognition and analysis to go through method statements, job hazard analysis and the like, not to reduce the minor near misses, but going straight for is there a pattern here that's developing that this particular activity or this particular group of individuals could end up with a serious injury or fatality. And so that's a completely different way of thinking about safety in our industry. And I think that, and what blew me away was it required the application of the data analytics and the kind of thinking that would take centuries for a human to go through to actually be able to get to that insight and change the way that organization is operating. So I know that it's there, but what I'm hearing from everyone is we started today talking about AI and robotics, and almost from a technology perspective. But as we've been working our way through, it's increasingly to misquote a previous presidential campaign, it's all about the people, stupid. So maybe we could kind of go down that path of things things maybe we can look at to ensure that we are empowering people and going through the correct change management to actually ensure that they can leverage the technologies and the tools that are there. That's quite a lot to unpack there. But James, you do this a lot, so I'm gonna swing that one to you to get the conversation going.
I'm gonna start out in a weird place, but I'll end up where we all are, I promise. So from a C-suite perspective, to get them excited to do something, make an investment, to execute something, you have to talk in two dimensions. It's either revenue or profitability. Full stop, right? So safety plays into that in some form or fashion. So how do you measure whatever it is you're trying to do in terms of AI and profitability, or in terms of revenue and profitability? We started our journey thinking that it could be revenue per employee, but it turns out that's not it. It's not necessarily profitability per employee either. And there's something in between where you're looking at the unit of production for the employee or the business unit. And it gets really complicated, but fundamentally the concept's called average annual production per employee. It takes into account all the work they have to do and how they measure it, and what the costs are and what their contributions are to the bottom line. And if you can get to that, right? Hey, if we deploy this, it's going to either increase our revenue or increase our profitability because it does Y. Then you've got a really good strategic starting point for what you want to do with AI, right? All of that goes right back to the human being. So the humans are doing something. If we help the humans do something better, it will either increase our revenue or increase our profitability, maybe both. It might even have a decrease in revenue, but we increase profitability, and that's cool too, right? Because we're trying to make more, we're trying to produce more shareholder value and return equity, whatever those things are. So that's number one. Number two, you absolutely have to be aligned with next fiscal year's strategic goal from the C-suite, from the board. Whatever the board's decided they want to do next year, you absolutely have to be able to say, we're going to deploy AI because it's going to help us achieve this strategic intent. And if you can't get there, then you have to fall back on, okay, I understand we're going to do that, but we're going to do this first. This is going to help us generate revenue or generate profitability at a people level. And that's where everybody gets lost. If you've gotten that far to go, hey, board, I need $10 million on my AI, and they're going to, laugh at you. And you go, no, I need $10 million to increase revenue and profitability by doing this. They go, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more. If you can say 10 million extra, you're doing this, this is the impact it's going to have on the overall organizational design, reorganization, whatever that is. We're going to measure it this way. They go, oh, you're our savior. The clouds part, the sun comes out, and the wallet's open, and investors come flooding in to try to get that deployed. there are many examples of that, and that's where I'm going to leave it. And I'm going to pass it off. The number one thing that we see, and Ed, you're there. It's vendor invoicing. Something as simple as that. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Vendor invoicing. It's full of errors. It's difficult. It's Excel sheet based. It's horrible. So outside of sales and marketing, right? Because that's the number one thing people are using that we see AI for now. Second thing that they're using it for is vendor invoicing and correctly taking care of all those issues and data management issues and contract compliance responsibilities and all of that stuff. Saves so much time.
Yeah. We have a little bit different experience than talking to the C-suite about it. And this is just a different mechanism, I guess. We found by educating the champion in the room, right? Whoever it is whose problem you're solving. We've actually had great success with educating them around whatever the solution is, in our case, documentation and condition assessments, right? Giving them the information to talk to their internal teams, right? And then their internal teams and their leadership understand it because they know their internal culture, their internal communication style. We actually had one client tell us, we don't want you in the room when we go to pitch this to our leadership because we don't want them being like thinking they're being sold to. We can deliver this. They walked in, 10 minutes later, they walked out with a contract in hand because they understood the solution and they could then speak to the real value, which is what you're getting at, James, right? Speaking to the real value of how it solves the problem and what the deployment is going to give the ROI to. So, but by empowering those that are the champions, the users of the tool, and giving them all the information they need, we found that helps so much in telling that story up the chain, whether we're in the room or not. Most of the time when we are in the room, we're quiet and they're doing the talking, right? So it's making sure that story is easy to digest and simple to understand, even though it's solving a complex problem. And I think whatever that problem is in your organization out there in internet land, all of those of you listening, whatever it is that can be that thing that gives you your Friday afternoon back, whether it's invoicing or whether it's sales and marketing or whatever, if you can get that Friday afternoon back so you can slip out of the office a little early and go to your kid's baseball game, football game, ballet, recital, whatever, and be that human being instead of being chained to your keyboard and having to pound out whatever it is that you have to do. That's that low-hanging fruit for you. And that's where I think you can find the most value to start the conversation internally, find the solution, learn what you can about it, and then run it up the chain and get that buy-in, to James's point, with the information about how it's going to solve your problem and relate to the mission.
If I can chime in, I think that the most important thing is to look at AI, robotics, and all of that as infrastructure. This is not a thing by itself. It's an infrastructure to support many other things. Think about electricity, right? I mean, when Westinghouse, created his first, power station, he didn't imagine a video Zoom call, right, that is all, powered by electricity, right? This is an infrastructure level, and we have to think about it this way. What does it allow us, okay, by putting this infrastructure behind our organization, behind our buildings, behind our team? What does it allow our team and our building and everything to do, better, faster, more efficient, and so on? If we think in that framework, I think we have a whole new, level of conversation, even with C-suite, even with the board. We have to understand that this is an infrastructure that kind of like the tide that lifts all the boats.
Absolutely agree on that. I had one of those discussions yesterday with one of the big dragons in the facilities management industry with over 600,000 employees. Was talking to their executive team about their questions like, okay, so where, are we behind? How are other companies doing this?
Yes.
Should we start with the technology first and try to find use cases? That's where we are stuck a bit at this point of time, because many leaders in these organizations and companies, either it be on the vendor side or on the company side, are, stuck with the belief that you do a business case, you try to kind of look at the as-is situation, and you look at the to-be situation, and you have to calculate backwards kind of the win from that optimization. This all stems from Lean Six Sigma being king and queen of the last years of process optimization, and that mindset is still here, right? But this time it's different. Can't do it like that. Have to do it the other way around, of really breaking it down as you were into, James. What we see is really powerful to unlock this. If there is anyone in the audience who wants to get investment from AI, the key is simple, is to talk about impact per hour, per employee. So whenever a person can increase their impact with, let's say, 3 or 4 times during a week, that's super powerful, because if you have 600,000 employees, maybe you will bring a fourth of those into a transformation journey. And if their impact per hour really starts to compound, then you're in a position to look at it from a process perspective as a second step, not the first step. So basically, augmentation over automation is what works at this point in time.
I think that's a lovely close on the main part of the discussion there. We are rapidly approaching the top of the hour. I think we've got about 6 minutes left. So I think where we started off with technology and really just a small glimpse, trying to set up a small glimpse into the session later this year. We started at the industry level, where AI and robotics are actually showing up in our workplace and our buildings today, even if people aren't calling it AI or robotics. I really appreciate each of you speaking to the organizational impact, the strategic impact, the tactical impact, and the individual level. So I think that really resonated with me, that this is pervading all parts. And it kind of makes sense that the conversation would move towards really people and humanity, that from the organizational perspective, driving productivity. But I think at least I heard along the way, and I'm sure the audience did, the focus on releasing individual creativity. So tasks that have really taken up people's time and stopping you to, I've heard of it as stopping people getting to their to-do list, or turning a to-do that never gets done actually into something, and something that's fun to do. And then ultimately at the end, about individuals, if really focusing on using the various technologies to allow them to have a better life. So I think I'm gonna hand over to everybody for just one very quick fire question, and then we'll get ready to close the event. But before we do that, I really want to thank our partners in both CORENet and IFMA for allowing us to pull this together at the last minute. We are, I would say, I'm assuming that most people on the session today registered for the main event. That in-person thing will be coming up, so please look out in your emails. And if you enjoyed this, we'll open up registrations again. We'll take advantage of the gap to open up registrations again. So please invite your colleagues and friends to come along to the session. I think the watchword here is that impact per hour per employee, or I'm going to change that to impact per hour per person. And as we close out, I have one quick fire question for everybody, starting with you, James, and we'll finish with Henrik. What's one way AI or robotics could actually make somebody's job easier on this call within the next 6 months? So let's really bring it in. James.
AI is being currently used right now. It's transcribing this particular Zoom meeting. That transcription will be used to create blog posts for educational purposes for everybody else. The video itself will be parsed through AI for short form video to help them understand how to use AI. So when you think about that, that's individuals and how it helps the individuals. At an organizational level, using AI to optimize things for energy savings is rampant in the industry, whether you know it or not. Right?
I'm going to pause you there. Go straight to Elad. Next 6 months.
I would say if you feel that you're overwhelmed and running too fast and we can't catch up and it's like too overwhelming, you're not alone. I'm in the same bucket as you, as everyone around the world, I believe. But as they say, the best time to start looking into AI and all of this was a year ago, 2 years ago. The next best time is today. So get on your phone, get on your tweets and everything. Follow people that are doing amazing things. Try to replicate it. It will change your life. Just do it. And in the next 6 months, you will transform your organization. That's a promise. If you commit to yourself.
Billy.
That brings it over to me, and I've got a quick 3-step framework. 3 ways that you can start using AI today, tomorrow, and the next 6 months. So find something that is simple as an email that you want to send to someone to reply to. Have AI draft it. The best thing about this is if you don't like what AI says, you have a delete button on your keyboard. Just erase it and write what you would want to say anyway. It's only going to take a matter of seconds. If you're good with that and you're already really, happy with those outcomes, there's the workflow rethink. So find a workflow that is causing you a bottleneck and rethink how you could use AI to do it, right? And whether that's the invoicing, whether that's sales, whatever it is, find one workflow, something simple, and automate it with AI. Augment yourself. And the third part is take that strategic leap. You've mastered the emails, you've mastered the workflows. Find a way, like what we're doing with solving a 3,400-year-old problem of manual documentation in the inspections process. That's how old that problem is since the first inspection was done. 3,000 plus years old.
I'm going to have to hurry you up, Billy. We've got to go to Henrik. So thank you. We're really right at the top of the hour. So Henrik, yours is the last word.
Short and sweet, Ed. Start with the pain. Make sure that people understand how to remove the worst parts of their jobs with help of AI. I think the most impactful thing I've seen this far is when people build what we call the chief of staff agent, an AI that takes over meeting bookings, status reports, emails, all of that coordination that burns out people. So if you do that, the promising companies of the future are not the ones with the most pilots. They are with the fluent people and organization.
Thank you, everybody. We are at the top of